Eso es para ti, for you for the next, I think it's open. I think it's open. Yes, it's open. Yes, perfect. Egunon, compañeras, bon dia.
Good morning. We're going to start the Youth and the Social Economy panel. Rosa Levin, president of Conferința, said that the present and future of this has got to be youth and women. So it's a pleasure to be here with 4 women. So this workshop is an example of the future of the social economy. My name is Luis Esteban Rubio. I'm at the ECHO Cooperative. We've got young people, youth initiatives. We're introducing hundreds of young people every year. We're doing an info jobs program to get jobs for people, young people in the social economy. And we're addressing now the question of creating a virtuous circle that links and puts together youth and the social economy. And before we start, I'm just going to give you 3 basic ideas to set the framework. First of all, the social economy is really going to have to face a change of generation. For decades, we've found people in Spain and Europe who've generated cooperatives, and their working life is coming to an end and they can't find replacements, and they need young people. Secondly, we find that the ability, as Jose Maria de Mendiareta said, who's also going to be with us, some of these slides, he said that to work at a cooperative you need 2 things. First of all, obviously, the technical ability, and then the moral ability. So we need, at cooperatives, we need people who want to work not in a traditional company, but who want to work in advanced democratic organizations. Thirdly, we find that according to SETIME, Spanish Confederation of SMEs, more than 60% of new companies in Spain do not last for more than 5 years. More than 60% of new companies in Spain don't last longer than 5 years. Now, if we're talking about startups, in 2-3 years, 80-90% of them are out of business. Now, what do I mean by that? We're always focusing on entrepreneurship, and young people know how hard it is for them, but we've got to also look at intrapreneurship. This is a sector that is not supporting competition, is supporting collaboration, and relationships, and in banking, insurance, food, energy, we've got to promote this more in order to make it easier for young people to begin with. And then on the other hand, we have young people who have social, ecological, feminist values that are seeking a project that gives them certainty, stability, dignity, but is also in line with their values. And there's a Gallup poll report that says that in Spain, 90% of employees in Spain don't agree with the values of their company. 90% of the employees in Spain don't agree with the values of their company. And finally, just before we begin the panel, we find that there's a CEPES report that divides youth in 3. Utilitarian youth, young people who just see work as a way to live and get on with their life. Then young people who want good working conditions, and they're identified to a certain extent with their job. And then finally, the idealists, who for ethical, political, ideological reasons are looking for something that is in line with that. And those young idealists are the ones that we should attract into the social economy. I'm going to finish with that, just to give you these ideas, so that we have a debate. And first of all, we're going to have Antonella, Anna, Monica, Angela are going to have 10 minutes to tell us what they do, what their daily work is, the public policies, the case of Antonella, and other areas. And also we're going to ask them to share, to tell us what challenges they face every day, and also success stories. They can tell us their experiences. And then you, The audience will have the floor. If you want to know, ask questions, know more, you can do so in Spanish, in French and English. And finally, we're lucky enough to have here in the first row Ikastola Aridmendi, Mireia, representatives from a school, Mireia and 3 students who are going to tell us about 3 projects that were landed to cover and show us how they've covered their needs and how an education cooperative is training young people.
We start with Antonella. So Antonella have a great presentation. She is the head of the Social Economy and Innovation Unit of the OECD. So thank you, Antonella.
Chiedo disculparmi porque entiendo el español, pero
I want to apologize because I understand Spanish, but I don't speak it well enough to do a presentation.
before starting with my presentation, which should appear somewhere, I would like to say that, first of all, I am, as you can see, the less young among this lady, and this is not a problem because, exactly as you said, in many European and non-European countries, there is an issue of replacing all the aging manager in the social economy with young people. And I have been working in this area for 26 years now, and at the very beginning, when I started to attend conference, this would have not been possible. There were less young people interested in this area. So this is the right moment for policymakers, for social economy actors to nurture this spirit. So I'm going to present here the result of a study that OECD presented last year, and this study has been realized also with the support of the European Commission, which is fully coherent also with the commitment of the European Commission, and later on I will say what OECD is doing with youth to promote social economy and social enterprises among youth. So I don't need to repeat what you said, because it is true that the young generation, the millennials, the Z generation, are willing to work or to become entrepreneur in places in which they can see their values, their principles, their ideals represented. And just a few figures here. So 40% of young people prioritize social impact in career choices, so this would be the idealist people. So they really, they want to do business, or they want to work in enterprises, or even in the public sector, and this is where you become entrepreneur, willing to make a social impact. So this is the good news, and one of our latest work showed that 45% of young people plan to become entrepreneurs after graduating, and the recent European Commission Eurobarometers show that 1 out of 3 young people is aware of social entrepreneurship. So here you have understood I will focus on social enterprise, so a segment of the social economy, but most of the challenges that I will present relate to social economy as such. And so there are people that are, this is one of the recent percentages, 5% of young people are actively working on a startup. And this is very important because we also know that young generation, but maybe also old generation, share some anxiety in the current historical moment, and anxiety because of the many challenges, the transition, the climate change, the war, the peace, the democracy, which are endangered. But young people also have an anxiety to enter the labor market. And social enterprises and the social economy are really well positioned to meet young people's aspiration The panelists before us, Commissioner Smith, the representative of the Spanish government have very well explained, so I do not need to do so, why social economy can be really the right place for young people to be. And it echoes also the title of this panel. It is true that the young generation has common value with the social economy. They want to see an impact. They want to foster sustainability. They are very, very skilled with digital. They care for green. So there are so many commonalities that spontaneously social enterprises and social economy could represent a response to the needs of the young people. So 10% of business in Europe are social economy and social enterprises, and I could provide many figures, but they are bothering. In Europe, 20% of social entrepreneurs are 18-34, 28%, sorry, but we can see the similar or not very far from share in India, in Brazil, in Canada, and so on and so forth. And the wheelchair, not the wheelchair, the rocking chair, sorry, 80%, for instance, in France, of social enterprises employees are expected to retire. So, right moment to foster, as I was saying, the young generation. So, double opportunity for young, not only to run business with a social impact, but also to learn skills by working with the social economy. But I will go back to this maybe a bit later on. And, of course, I am presenting maybe a too rosy landscape. Of course, there are challenges. These are the usual challenges that social entrepreneurs, social economy entities, people working for social economy faced. But for young people, these challenges are multiplied, because they are young, and I will explain later on why. So we did a survey a couple of years ago. We went almost everywhere in the world. We touched upon some 70 countries. And we wanted to hear from young people, but also from policymakers, from academics, and it was interesting to see that all in all, the perceptions are shared. So among the challenges that young people face when they want to create, for instance, a social enterprise or an association is access to finance, access to market, access to, the slide is not working well, so I need to read on my institutional support structure, business development support, legal recognition, and availability of social enterprise network. Legal recognition meaning that these entities very often can take different legal forms, different legal status. And for an entrepreneur, and especially a young entrepreneur, it might be difficult to understand what is the legal form I want to adopt. I don't know exactly what this entails, and it is important that to align the objectives of the impact that young people want to know to the choice of the legal form. So, as I was mentioning before, young people face double challenges. There are a twofold relationship. One which is due exactly to the nature of social enterprises and generally social economy entities. These are triple bottom lines, working on not on short-termism, as Commissioner Smith was mentioning, but long time. And not many people, be this the general public, be this policymaker, be this funders, investor, they are not yet very, very familiar with this model of economy. So, for instance, when it comes to access to fund and financing, traditionally, maybe now the situation is changing, but banks prefer to invest in a regular business because they understand the business model rather than in the social economy. And of course, young people have particular problems in this because they lack collaterals. They are not going to crack their piggy bank to invest in their business. Maybe they lack also some skills. So you see all the challenges that a social entrepreneur might face are multiplied for young people. Access to knowledge and skills, of course now there are, compared to when I started to work in the field, there are much more offer of curriculum in universities and even in maybe in primary and secondary schools, but there is still a problem, for instance, in university. Not all universities have this curricula, and when they come, for instance, to high schools, private one, of course, this leaves out maybe young who are disadvantaged in terms of money. So, and navigating legal framework, I was mentioning this before, and low visibility again of this model, in spite of all the effort that organizations like mine are doing to increase the awareness about the social economy, still there is a lot of work to be done. In the previous panel, there was the European Commission, ILO, United Nations, but OECD as well has done a recommendation for the member countries to spread light on the benefit of social economy. So there is a lot to do that policymakers, I'm going to the end of my presentation, policymakers can have obviously an important role to address these challenges, and there are already examples that exist around the world when it comes to promoting skills development. As I was mentioning, there is now more offer, access, encouraging private investment and developing tailored finance and funding, meaning that, of course, maybe now young people who would work in the world of digital technology, they might spontaneously attract more investors because they understand better what are the issues, but still the traditional finance is still important. So the trend of leaving all the place to the so-called social investor has advantages, but it has disadvantages, and the public sector needs to continue to invest in social economy. And so raise the profile of social enterprises, improve the evidence base, so measure what social economy can do. This was also mentioned before by the Commissioner, and obviously giving youth a seat at the table, discussing with the young people. We do this at the OECD, but I will explain this later. We organized a big conference in March, and the last session of the conference was for young people to tell us how they see the future, what we, the old generation, should do in our different capacity to help them embark in this journey towards the social economy. Thank you very much.
Merci bien, Antonella. So, Ana Aguirre, she is the president of International Cooperative Alliance Youth Network, but also she is one of the main people promoting a great entrepreneurship program here in Euskadi with Tasebaes and with Mondragon. Thank you, Ana. You can start.
Can I stand?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I don't know how to speak when I'm sitting. Okay, so I'm Ana Aguirre, and I come to talk to you about youth and co-ops. And sometimes when I'm in these kind of forums, I forget to share where I come from. And for me, it is important because it's what, in an everyday basis, it gives me ground, right? So I am the youth rep for the ICA, but really my home, my everyday work, what I do in my paid job is actually this. Taseba es, for those who are not Basque, it means and why not in Basque, and it's this family. I am part of the co-founding team of Taseba es that started 10 years ago. We're celebrating 10th anniversary, and now it's home to 23 not so young people worldwide, right? We have 5 different offices in 5 different countries in the world. And for those of you who may be super interested about what we do Traveling University, that is basically a university on entrepreneurship that we work with Mondragon, Vira, that is the consultancy model and the innovation development, and then make it visual, that is actually a communication agency within that. And why do we do this, or why did we choose a co-op 10 years ago? It's because we really believe in the wisdom of Arizmendiarrieta still, and we think that this is one of the main ways to lead our vision. And is the world hasn't been given to us to contemplate it, but to transform it. That is one of the things that we really believe on, because we believe that co-ops are business solutions within social economy sometimes gets misled, that are human-focused, that are democratic, that do share ownership, that are structurally multi-generational, which for us is very important to acknowledge. It's not just a youth-led business, it's one of the only forms of business that is structurally intergenerational. It fosters and assures participation in management, in decision-making, and in results. And it ensures skill development, emancipation, and creation and share of wealth. And for us, we know that it's not the answer for everything, because nothing is, right? But it is one of the best solutions that we know so far to social development and youth emancipation. But I am not here only because I am for Taseba es. As Luis mentioned, I am here because I am the head of the Youth Committee of the International Cooperative Alliance, that for those who may not know, is the representing body of the co-ops worldwide. We represent 10% of global employment and about 12 million people. And I can say openly that I am the president of the world of this, you know. It is not every day that you meet a president of the world. And what we do in the Youth Committee is actually represent youth, promote youth development, and unite youth, because one of the main things that we understand is that youth is weaker when we feel isolated. Everyone is really, not only youth. So to actually come to these kind of places and have a committee that allows you to connect and understand that all the troubles, all the challenges, everything that you're doing, but also your victories, are better off when you're connected. We have 4 pillars of work: participation and empowerment of young people, making sure that we have the skills and the tools for education and communication, foster cooperative entrepreneurship, and develop tech initiatives and tech development bases. But we know we have a great challenge, because we're a little bit tired of saying, like, youth is not in co-ops, co-ops are not for youth, but we know that it's still a challenge, even though more and more there is more youth that are participating in co-ops. Why? Because we had this study made in cooperative channels, and it turned out that 49% of the people that we asked didn't know much about the cooperative model. And we used cooperative-based channels, and even 10% said that they knew nothing. So we're doing something wrong. And also another thing that we found out is that people worldwide understood co-ops as inaccessible, that were just related or just for those who had higher education. So we are doing something bad in marketing. I think this is news for no one. We're not very good at marketing in the cooperative model, but we do have the results. And this is the study. If you haven't read it, do read it. It's in Spanish as well. And I love it because it's young people and co-ops, the perfect match. I mean, what is more modern than that? But we really wanted to bring you real and tangible solutions and actions that we're taking in the Youth Committee. the Youth Committee, in order to lead and to look into solutions that will allow young people to be more seen, we created this ELEP, very bad naming as well, Young Leadership Exchange Program that we had 2 pilots to, one of them to the Basque Country, early June, and one of them to the US in late September, where we found people from every region of the ICA to come together to understand cooperative environments in other places. First was the Basque Country, it's one of the most cooperativized environments worldwide, and the other one was the US, where we actually came to the Impact Conference of NCBA Clusa. But we also developed a toolkit that is open and free, so you can all go into the website, that is the Co-op Spring, that after a huge research of a year and a half, we understood which challenges were the youth having in youth-led co-ops, and then we did a guide with good practices on how to solve those problems. It's open, and we also this year developed seminars for train-the-trainer people that were willing to support youth in those senses. But we are not only support, we also invest, because it's one of the things that you shared is like funding. Where does that come from? And we managed to have a project that funded 9 different co-ops in the 4 regions of the ICA. Out of 9, 5 are standing 2.5 years after. It is a 50% rate, which is actually very respectable. And then we did a recommendation paper on what digital and platform co-op should look like when we look at the tech development, and also how do we develop tech to be used by cooperatives. Because for us, it's clear, the sign of life is not to remain. It is actually to be reborn and adapt to recurrent times. And that is all I have for you today. We'll deepen it into the rest. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ana. Thank you very much. So we have Mónica Tierno. She is the director of cooperative cluster of Valle del Jerte. She is not only working with young people, she is also working in rural areas, in agro sectors. So this is a big example today for us. So thank you very much, Mónica.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thanks for the invitation to the Ministry of Labour and Social Economy. It's a pleasure to be here today. And as Ana did, first I also would like to talk more about the agro-COP model, because today we're visualizing a lot of different entities from the social economy. I just used some data from the last CEPES report that was published in September regarding data from 2022. So in general, like out of the more than 3,000 social economy entities that were studied in that report, 70% of the entities were cooperatives. And if we talk about employment, agro-cooperatives imply 27% of the total employment from these more than 3,000 entities that were analyzed. For us, it's also very important because sometimes, like the agro-COP, sometimes we feel a little bit left out from the social economy. And it's very important for me to know, so everyone who is here, when you live today, you know more about what we do and the impact we have in our, especially rural communities. Okay, so in Agrupación de Cooperativas Valle del Jerte, it's a cluster, actually the term would be like second-grade cooperative. So that means we're actually formed by 15 different cooperatives, and actually the producers, the farmers, belong to these first-grade cooperatives. In total, we have more than 2,000, actually we're almost like we have almost 3,000 farmers, and for us it's also very important to point that out, because even though you can see our annual turnover, 60 million euros, sounds like a lot, but we are composed of very small scale farmers, like 3,000 farmers, like on average they have like 2.5 hectares, which is really nothing, especially compared to most of the farming models nowadays, right? But we founded the cooperative like 30 years ago, and it was like a little bit like this, together we are stronger. And thank God we took that decision, because otherwise, even like our first-grade cooperative individually, we would have, they would have no power at all in the supply chain. So for us, like this coming together and becoming like a very big entity, it's what has allowed us to actually like invest in technology, in like innovation in process, market our product, like be able to get to broader and more interesting markets sometimes. And nowadays, this all little by little, this cooperation model has made us like the biggest marketer of cherries in Europe. So that we're very proud of that. And also in terms of employment, on average, we have 250 employees. Of course, because we are so seasonal, and in the lowest part of the season, we have around 100, but in the season, we get up to more than 1,000 employees. So that's for us very important. Also, that was a little bit like more the economy data, but also I want you to know that we are not just like a company that develops economic activity, but also all the input and impact we have in our region. And here I put some examples about how the recognition we've got. More in the social involvement we got. For example, like this year recently, we got in our province also like a recognition for all the impact we got in social and economy activity of our region. And for example, down there, we also in 2022, we were awarded by the National Federation of Agriculture with the prize of gender equality. Because we have created gender equality committees, both in the first grade cooperative and in our second grade cooperative, even though in the second grade cooperative it's not compulsory by law, but we coordinate all of them. And as you can see, like I'm the general manager, I'm a woman, and I'm a young person. So we really try to visualize the work of like women in agro, which they were always there, but they were just not visible. So for us, it's very important to give them that visibility and to empower them to become part of our democratic system of decision making. And that's also one of our focus. Here, I'm just gonna play the video. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's just like to have it on the back a little bit. Oh, something is wrong.
Una más para atrás.
Okay, yeah. It's just because it's also important for me that you know like the beautiful area and the beautiful agriculture, because sometimes agriculture, we can talk about this in the second part of the presentation about the value or not so much value that farmers get these days, but also not all agriculture is the same. And it's very important for the audience here today that you understand where we come from and what we do and what we need for this to continue in the future, right? Also, as an agro-cooperative, I think one important value from this cooperation is that we also advise farmers. It's not just like a transaction, but we have technical teams that advise them in like agronomic practices, more sustainable practice, certifications, all that kind of things, and also all the administrative tasks, because also, and here I know there are some people from the administration today, both Europe and national and even regional, sometimes it's difficult to fit us in the norm. Because we are a little bit like different, right? And sometimes we struggle a little bit, like so our model is recognized and included, like somehow. And well, cherry is our main product, but not only. We are also trying to push like diversification and youth, which is what brought us here today. We can deep down more in the second part. But pretty much, well, that was just for you to have an overview. We can go, so I don't get much more time. This is a little bit our numbers. I compare them to the ones from the Observatory of Agro-Cops, and they're pretty similar. If you look at our social composition these days, we consider young farmers that are under 45, and you can see we are around like only 14%. Between 45 and 65, we have like 53%, and we have around like 30% of those farmers that are over 65 years old these days. So in the second part, I would like to talk more a little bit about the challenges and all these things, but just so you know, because we are the people who produce the food we all eat at home, right? So I think it's a very important data to keep in mind. And that was pretty much it. I just wanted to say that I was invited here, and because I'm a young woman director or general manager of a cooperative, and I would really like that there's one day where I'm not unusual, you know, where I find people and they are not shocked that I'm the general manager of the company, you know, and a little bit like talking to most of the things you were saying before, sometimes the trust, the providers, and all those things. But I think the same to the rest of the women in the agro. For me, it's very important to be visible so people get to know our sector and that they want to get involved in such an important sector like ours. And that's pretty much it so far.
Thank you very much, Monica. For sure, we are going to deepen into these challenges because this number, we have to talk more about that.
Yeah.
Angela Achitei, thank you very much, President of ADV Romania Foundation. You can start. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and hello in this beautiful city, and thank you very much for the invitation to your Ministry of Labour and Social Economy. I hope in one day in Romania we will have a Ministry of Social Economy too. It's one of our dreams. So I'm not so young now, but when I started at ADV Romania and we built this foundation, I was 27 years old. And together another 3 colleagues, we decided to create in Romania a solution for young people, especially young people that are coming from child protection institution, because Romania has this situation at that moment. And we started with social services, but after 6 years, we thought maybe it's a good idea to develop our programs and to start to prepare them for the labor market. And we started to train them in different qualifications. We authorized our organization for the services on labor mediation and professional counseling. And in 2008, we went on the labor market and we wanted to hire youth, especially youth with special needs, with disabilities, and that are coming from child protection system. It was a very big challenge for us to do this. But we were very proud that we want to go on the labor market and to hire this youth. But the result was 0. We didn't manage to hire nothing in 2028. Why? Because the economical crisis came and many companies wanted to keep their staff, not to hire more staff. And because we were so upset of the situation, we decided, okay, if you don't want to hire them, we will hire these young people. And in 2008, we hired not just 1, 2, or 3. We hired around 29 youth in 3 cities in Romania in our organization. And actually, we wanted to create the good example of doing something, not just speaking about this. And after we found that what we are doing means social economy. We didn't know in 2008 that what we are doing with these young people that we hired in our organization, and we try to have different types of activities, economical activities, means social economy. And we went around looking to see we are so smart or somebody already is doing in the world this kind of services. And we found about social economy and how good example and tool we can use to integrate this type of youth on the labor market. And to be this positive, to create this kind of positive examples and actually a package of services, social, professional, integration, and having a job for this youth. And because we liked very much this tool, we started to promote the social economy in Romania. So in 2015, we managed to have a law on social economy in Romania. Romania is one of the countries in Europe that has this specific law. And now in Romania we are having around 200,000 social enterprises, but just around 2,600 social enterprises are legal authorized. Why? So just few. Because we don't have a good environment for development and to have some fiscal and non-fiscal facilities to be able to create and to build this kind of sector. And many social enterprises, they don't want to be legal registered because they have to report and to make a lot of documents, and bureaucracy is high. And what we decided, because we have this practical experience, it's very important to put your practical experience and system experience and to create an environment, to create a policy. And I'm encouraging youth people to be engaged in this kind of activities and to create a better framework. We did this at the ADV Romania. And we became the grant administrator. And 3 years ago, we created 42 social enterprises in Romania, 5 in Republic of Moldova, and 1 in Ukraine. 10 of these social enterprises are made by youth. And 2 of these social enterprises are made by people with disabilities that became social entrepreneurs. This is very, very nice. And they are having success. They are still on the market. And together with these social enterprises and other enterprises, we created a cluster of social economy. It was the next level, because it's important to be in the big community and to have this opportunity of changing the information. And because one of the challenges of the social enterprises is access to financing, and we already spoke about this, Romania has the same situation. We didn't have financial institutions dedicated for giving money to the social economy sector. And for the banks, it's very hard to understand the business model of the social enterprises. And we saw this in our organization because we went to the banks and we didn't manage to take a loan. We went for a loan, for example, in Poland. We borrowed some money from TISE, from Poland Bank, because nobody wanted to give us in 2010 money in Romania. But instead of crying, you know, somebody is crying and somebody is selling napkins for the people that are crying. We decided to sell these napkins, and we established 2 years ago the first non-financial bank institution in Romania. Afin is the name. And guess what? When we did the marketing research, it was before the pandemic COVID, we found that more than 90% of the people that will invest in this non-financial bank institution will be the business companies. During the pandemic period, the things changed. And the most our shareholders are social entrepreneurs, young people, and people that are working in social enterprises, 90%. And we are having now 170 shareholders of this non-financial bank institution that we created. And we decided this non-financial bank institution will be a social enterprise. And we authorized this non-financial bank institution as a social enterprise, and we started already to give loans in the market. We are having around 15 social enterprises that are receiving money from us, and they are able to grow the activity. So these are small things that we did, and I wanted to present these types of steps that we managed to do, because it's important, as I told you, to not wait for somebody to come to create a good environment for a social economy, but to be active in the sector and to try to create different tools and to improve the framework of social economy, and to be a good example, including for the young people, because when you are saying what you are doing and when you are doing what you are saying, you are more credible in the market. and it's more easy to develop. And we are doing together with other networks. We created RISE Romania, Romanian Network of Work Integration Social Enterprises. We are doing at the European level with Social Economy Europe because we are a member in this network. We are doing with ANC Europe because we are a member. We are doing with the IESES, SPD. There are so many networks, and I think one of the key of development is to be part of the community of social economy. So this is the short story of our organization. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are deepening into their interventions. We are going to follow the same order. Alors, Antonella, vous là-bas au SDE, vous savez, là, vous pouvez regarder tout le monde. Alors, vous ne travaillez pas directement sur les...
Antonella doesn't work directly with youth, but you do know what specific initiatives and projects would be of interest to attract young people to the social economy. But you also have a youth academy. You're also familiar with it. Youth Academy, so tell us a little bit about that. And we're speaking in French. Should I speak in French? Well, you can speak in whatever language you prefer. You can speak in French, you can speak in English, whatever. But perhaps English might be better for most of the people present.
Eva, thank you. We are inside the workshop, but we have Petro Darmoris. Petro Darmoris.
Great.
Sorry for that, Petro. Petro Darmoris was going to be here. He's the co-founder and CEO of Social Economy Ukraine, but due to the war, to the administrative things, he couldn't do it. So we have a video of Petro saying a little word to us today. Yes, they are going.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, warm greetings from Kyiv, the heart of Ukraine. While I regret not being able to join you in person today, I'm truly honored and grateful for the opportunity to connect with you by this video message. And a big thank you to the Spanish government for having me here to share a few words. First of all, let me express my deepest gratitude to all the international community for the solidarity and support you have shown to Ukraine during these difficult times. In face of the brutal war, we are fighting for our independence and democracy. And the victory we seek is not just ours, it's our common victory, a victory of democracy that also depends on your continued support. The social economy itself has proven to be a powerful tool in addressing the multiple challenges posed by the war. The social economy initiatives have already played a key role in tackling poverty and unemployment, integrating displaced persons and veterans, ensuring the inclusion of marginalized groups. And this also extends to providing essential social services, promoting rural development and recovery of the former occupied territories. It's remarkable that the social enterprise landscape in Ukraine is evolving. The existing enterprises are expanding, traditional companies are embracing the social business model, and a wave of social startups is emerging. In particular, these startups include young entrepreneurs, a high potential group who are launching ventures with a clear social and environmental mission from the outset. And our responsibility here is clear, to provide them with tailored support on their journey. Being inspired by the last year's social economy conference in Strasbourg, and thanks to the support of the European Commission, especially Nicola Schmid, and the Social Economy Europe Network, we initiated the Social Economy Ukraine, which is an organization aiming at developing a community of social economy enterprises and supporting the development of the ecosystem. And through our small but impactful initiatives, we have enabled the Ukrainian social enterprises to improve their business models, secure funding, and receive ongoing non-financial support. Building on this momentum, in recent weeks, we have also launched the European Social Enterprise Monitor research in Ukraine, and we are optimistic that the data collected will provide practical insights for policy making and enable the creation of more effective programs and initiatives to support the development of the social economy sector of Ukraine and the recovery and modernization of our state in general. We have just started, but our ambitions are great. So we welcome collaboration with anyone who shares our vision and is willing to join us on this transformative journey, because together we can champion the cause of the social economy, promote positive change, and build a better future for Ukraine and beyond. Thank you.
You see that? Petro, excuse me, Petro. So I give the floor to Antonella to talking about the JEPA Youth Entrepreneurship Policy Academy initiative and the measures you treat in OECD with young people, successful cases. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Luis. So briefly, this has already been mentioned at least twice this morning, the Youth Entrepreneurship Policy Academy, which is funded by the European Commission but operated by the OECD. So this is a joint initiative, and I think this is indeed one of the answers that we wanted to offer. You have seen in my previous presentation that there are challenges, and it has been repeated by my co-panelists, that youth face, and there is a role for policymakers to address these challenges. So the Youth Entrepreneurship Policy Academy is built around this idea. So we put together young social entrepreneurs, people coming from a network of social economy, and policy makers. So it operates for all European countries. And we thought that having these people who all work in the arena of social economy, but who come from different perspectives, having them together and talk could be really something that contributes to match two worlds which might be not fully connected. So how it works, it lasts 3 years. It has been launched last year at the very high level, Commissioner Smith and Deputy Secretary General of OECD. It serves 150 people coming from governments. So the government sent 2 national representatives, and there are also 2 young people representing social economy. And we organized a workshop around, so the IEPA Policy Academy covers 2 streams of work. Social entrepreneurship is a full stream of it, and if you look at the social economy action plan of the European Commission, it is specially mentioned, but also inclusive entrepreneurship, that is maybe regular entrepreneurship, but targeting at the so-called challenging group, including youth, women, seniors, so willing to include them. So what we offer capacity building, and we extrapolate challenges. For instance, there are 2 or 3 workshops per year. One was on access to market, access to finance. Next year, in February, there will be a workshop on social entrepreneurship, and we hope to be able to have it in the big conference under the Belgian presidency, so that we can really have those people working in that framework. And so this is important. It is focusing on Europe, but because OECD is not only Europe, we are allowing remote participation from from youth from all over the world, because as I said, this is a phenomenon. So this is one thing I wanted to mention. The second one, in my directorate at the OECD, which is the Center for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Cities and Regions. During the pandemic, we created an initiative which is called Stand by Youth, and in which we gathered again employers from the private sector, but including from social economy organizations, asking them to provide jobs for people. So young people, including in the social economy. The call has been received, there were action, but most importantly, and what I want to underline here, and this is a call to young people. So we, in my unit, when we hire young people for internship, we look at their CV and we want to see whether they have done some internship, for instance, in the social economy. Because this speaks a lot of their commitment, and they can earn a lot of skills. So social economy can also be seen as a playground for young people to learn skills. So, and OECD, in addition of the recommendation on social and solidarity economy, which obviously look at the future generation, has also delivered the recommendation that is the higher level of ownership of the organization on created better opportunity for young people. So clearly, although we do not work exactly with people, we try and orient policymakers to look at the young generation. And I see here, because I was saying before that the last session of our big conference on social economy was given to young generation to, to tell us what to do. But I also see, and I will very brief here, I see countries also doing things. There are several axes that countries can use to encourage, to promote social economy. For instance, we have back 10 years ago, we were working with Croatia to help them to prepare that national strategy on social economy and social entrepreneurship. And they have encapsulated into the strategy a big area on education, on social economy for young people, and there was a lot of money also devoted to this, 28 million euros just for educating people. A more recent strategy in United Kingdom, Scotland, a part of the strategies is devoted to increasing awareness and empowering young generation to work in the social economy. So in addition to the law that Angela was mentioning, and you have been very modest because you know we portrayed your initiative as one of the best in Europe. She was modest, she didn't say, but I can say I can say this. And there are obviously other countries that are doing different things. France is organizing since many years, I don't know whether it is still the case, but French people can confirm, 1 week in the school, primary school, secondary school, to go and promote the cooperative model. In Canada, we have social innovation funds which are targeted to young, to offer seed money, and this money then helps other funders to provide other money, so they work as a catalyst. So there are many avenues that can be tapped into by government to attract talents, because sometimes I am fully persuaded that the young generation is more sensitive to social aspects than maybe the other generation, but it is true that their working conditions are, their life conditions are harder. The world is not doing exactly well. So I think that also the social economy should be empowered to, and so policymakers should support social economy, for social economy organization to be able to offer better careers, better pay, because this is what we see, that this is a problem. Sometimes talented young people work in the social economy, and then because they cannot really have a career, they leave, and this is a pity. I stop here.
Thank you, Antonella. Anna, day by day you are connected with every federation in the world, youth people, with youth cooperatives, so you are connected to the local problems, the local challenge, but you have the big perspective, no? Isn't it? So what are the main challenges for the global youth for you, and which are the main successful cases, do you know, the main experience that can train, attract laboral insertion with young people, do you know?
I'm ever optimistic.
Okay.
So everyone's just saying always like, oh, you know, the social economies and attract talent, and we have a problem to, you know, collect, connect. And I am super, understanding that there's always like the grass is greener in the other side, and we always think that the other part is better, is doing better, has less challenges, you know, there's more connection. But I think you said it right. Like before, we said like 60-something% of the people working in a non-social economy are actually not supportive of their own company's values. So I think that says a lot, you know. And while it is true that we have some challenges with wages and livelihood, I think that for the next generation also, because you're not being super well paid in a non-social economy either, I think that those 65% that are not happy would actually be happier to connect with values and being underpaid rather than just suffer through the underpayment. But I am ever optimistic and thinking that, you know, the best space for the cooperative movement is yet to come. You know, I always think that. I think that we have great legacy and we have great experiences worldwide, but I am thoughtful that the best is yet to arrive and it's also ours to make. You know, and so, as I said before, I think that the commitment is not only in the young people or the old people. What we need, well, more experience. We know we don't want to call them old, right? It is hurtful. So what we do, and what I believe in, is that the cooperatives, and especially worker-owned co-ops, that is where I come from, are structurally multi-generational. And I think that is a huge step towards the future, right? Because you're already feeding on other people's experience in your everyday. It is structurally done to, you know, it's structurally committed to legacy. And I was talking with the CEO of Laboral Kutxa of the bank, Xavier Eguibar, a couple of weeks ago, because I've been traveling for a month and a half, so I lost what time means. And he was sharing that they are trying to change the narrative and share that current workers in Laboral Kutxa, current worker owners, are actually not going to be perceived as cooperators only, or as entrepreneurs, or as businessmen and women, but as temporary owners of the co-op. And I think that change of narrative actually highlights the commitment to legacy. It is not only ours to have right now, but it's ours to enforce and to leave for the next generation with as great of a value. And I think that is super, super powerful in terms of what the co-ops mean. And I think that there's more and more spaces where social economy and co-ops are fostered. I wish there was more walk the talk sometimes, especially with youth. I do think that it is great that we are in the highlights of every agenda, at the local level, at the regional level, at the national level, at the international level. Everyone's mouth is filled with youth is the future and youth is our priority, but the pockets are not filled so far. Sorry to say. So it is the truth. So I think that it is important not only to acknowledge, which is the first step, but it's also important to put your resources where your mouth is, and I think that that is a big call. And then another thing is that we need more spaces to underline multi-generational spaces as well. It is great to have youth panels like these ones, but one of the best practices that we had was, for example, in Seoul in 2021, I think, confirmed, yes, 2021, December, we had one youth in each panel. What happens when you have a youth panel is that people cannot come. You see the room, like in the morning, it was super filled with people because politicians are important, but then you have a panel in youth and a lot of people don't come. And it's fine, it can happen, there are super interesting panels that happen parallelly, but it is important, I think, to not only have a youth panel, but have a youth in every panel. And I think that is a super good thing that we can all all talk about, because the great thing about youth is by the time that you retire, and imagine you have 45, we have 40, we're not that young at 40. We have had at least 15 years of experience, so you can talk about more things than just youth. You can talk about sector, you can talk about challenges, you can talk about entrepreneurship, regardless of age. It would be like asking 55 plus white men to talk only about retirement. 55, you cannot talk about sector, just retirement. It's the same, like until 40 you cannot talk about other things than youth, And the last one that I'm going to share in terms of good practices is that as TASEBAES and as Traveling University that I shared before, we have an undergrad program in cooperative entrepreneurship. So what we do is these people coming to college, undergrad program, fully official European degree, they come in, and in the first couple months of the program they create a cooperative in team. A real cooperative, like they need to sign and then pay tax or lose money, real money they're losing and winning. And what they do is learn entrepreneurship and cooperative entrepreneurship in practice. And I think that for a lot of people, this is the best way to learn. And I know all of you, most of you probably have gone to college. I surely did. And the educational system needs to give a twist to how we train people for the future. And I think, for example, in Traveling, you were doing that, creating multicultural environments for fostering of cooperative entrepreneurship practice. I'm happy to talk to you more about that. In the afternoon, there is one of the visits is actually to the leadership training, so I'm happy to see all of you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Monica, your figures. So you have to change the category to say young people is less than 45 years old. So this is the challenge. So can you explain more in this way? And what are you doing? And what are your best examples in other parts of the world to connect with Valle de Jerte?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, the challenges, I think there are several. But one I would like to point out the most, I think we have like a crisis in the value of agriculture. I really mentioned it before, but I feel like we only had like our glory moment maybe during the pandemic, because suddenly everyone realized, oh, I need to eat, and when things get like that, it's, actually I don't need a doctor every day, I don't need a lawyer every day, but I actually do need farmers several times a day, right? So I feel, and I guess it's lost. Sometimes you take it for granted, maybe because in our developed countries. But second, it's not only outside, it's also inside. Because when you are young and people ask you, what would you like to be when you're older? Like very often, even in our societies, you don't tend to say a farmer. And if you say so, your parents, your grandparents tell you, oh, you need to study to become something else, right? So I think we need to also do some internal job to see if we want to keep having like proximity and healthy food. We have to value the activity. Also, of course, it has to be with demographic as well, like the demographic pyramid is changing, so that was also reflected in our pyramid as well. But also it's it was also, again with this value, I think it's important because this morning in the panel it was already mentioned like how unsustainable cities are becoming, like the housing problem, all those things. And so if people stop like developing this activity, they're gonna go somewhere else, like to work and to have a life project. So it's going to make that problem also like more difficult to manage, right? I think that's important in general in agriculture and in the social economy. I agree with Anna that sometimes I feel like we are very bad at marketing. Like I feel like I can compare it to my grandparents or my parents who have also always been part of the cooperative system as well. I can feel like they appreciate it better because they were the one that kind of developed and understand like the wealth and the good that has made to our region. But I feel like young people, we don't get to know those values, and we compare them to the private warehouse that is next door. And we just see like the transaction, and then we forget about all these other things we've been discussing before. So I think it's very important that we get better at that. So for people who actually decide they want to continue with this activity, they find in social economy like the answer that they are looking for. Because to places like ours, that's I'm pretty sure it's the most fair system that that they are gonna get. So you can get the most of our production. Because as a cooperative, we are not a private company that decide to close our doors one day and go somewhere else where we can get our sources like cheaper, because we belong to the territory. Like our farmers are like the owners and the users of the cooperative, so that belongs together. And I think we need to get better at transmitting that message. And about the examples, I would like to point out that the Cooperativas Agroalimentarias de España, which is like the Federation of Cooperatives in AgroCoop in Spain, they have been running like a committee of youth for the last couple of years. And this way, like people from different parts of Spain are coming together in the way that they are trying to see what is being done in the different parts of Spain to address this generational challenge we are facing. Like, for example, land. Some of these farmers I served before, like some of them are dying, some of them are retiring, and their families, their sons, daughters, they lived in the city and they are not interested in the land anymore. So there are some initiatives about how to like manage this land that it's being left out, that it's also a sanitary problem, because if you don't manage like the land, it's also a big risk for pests for the rest of the productions. And not also like how to attract. Some people are also integrating or doing some informative meetings, inviting only like young people so they can get the information firsthand from what's going on and to understand the problems.
And it's working? It's working?
I guess it's still in an initial stage. Okay. I think it's good, but I think we need more time to see, and especially to integrate it, because then every place sometimes it's different and has different specifications. But yeah, and also I also would like to talk about specific people also in our organization. For example, the president of the committee, the gender equality treatment that I mentioned. For me, she and her partner, I think they're very good examples, because they're both people who are engineers. Like they studied agronomic engineers, but you know, they decided because they like where they live, they want to stay in the place they were born. So we have some example of people who are actually deciding, I want to keep my parents' land and I'm going to do my own project. And I think it's very important, because especially we are in a moment now where there's a lot of like change in the regulations. And you talk to someone who is 70, yes. And it's like, what are you saying to me? Like, I'm not gonna, especially like in products like cherries, like if you plant a cherry tree today, you're gonna start getting your first crop in 5 years. You know, so it's difficult to implement. So all of these changes sometimes are confusing, sometimes are too fast, even though they're perceived as they're too slow. But when you actually need to implement it in our world, sometimes it's too fast, and some people are not going to adapt, and probably they're going to just leave the activity. So in order like to get better and do all the changes, we need to get more like young people who are actually the ones that are going to see like the fruit of that job today. And that's a little bit the overview.
Thank you. Thank you. And Angela, you said you faced the economic crisis, you faced the finance challenge. What are your challenges today? You have said that you went to Poland to get finance. What are your challenges? And also, what are your reference? Romania, what are your other references you have in mind?
Yeah, I can say you something about our program, Accelerator of Social Enterprises, in which we have this target group, the young people, and including people with disabilities and from vulnerable groups, because it's important when we are speaking about young people to speak about all types of youth. And from our experience and what we saw in Romania, Republic of Moldova, Ukraine, because we are working a lot in these countries, there are 5 steps that each country have to do if we want to grow up the social entrepreneurship among young people, and not only. The first step is to create awareness, a lot of communication campaign awareness about social economy, social entrepreneurship. Many young people that are working in big companies, are looking, and we saw this, for making something in the life with a better sense, to know the final impact of their work. And I think it's a good moment for the states that will promote the social economy and the social entrepreneurship as a solution for young integration and social entrepreneurship. They will be able to keep in their countries the talent of the young people. And the young people are very creative. They are having, from my point of view, I think they know the best how to innovate. And we are not speaking about just technological innovation, but we are speaking about social innovation, and this is very important. And the second step is skills, development of skills, trainings, information, and we should promote the social economy in the school, in the kindergarten, in the universities, at all levels, because we are speaking a lot of entrepreneurship in general, but too less about social entrepreneurship. And I think this is the key, to change a little bit the public voice about entrepreneurship. And to develop these skills, because if you don't have a human resource developed in social economy, you will not be able to grow up the sector. The third step is to give this access to financing. And we have to create on the market different types of tools, not just loans, not just grants, but there are many types of tools that we can elaborate and to be available for young people. This is very important. And for startups, because many of these tools are not available for startups, and this is a big problem. The fourth step is to develop mentoring and coaching programs for young and for youth, and to create with them a community, and to try to explain them in a very easy way the bureaucracy of having a social enterprise and fulfill different legal conditions and other types of challenges that they can face. And the last one is to access to market. We are speaking very nice about the social economy, social entrepreneurship, but the healthy way of growing a social economy sector is to buy their products and services. And the local and national authority should be an example of doing this. And the companies also should integrate in their social responsibility, I don't know, sustainability strategies, the procurements from social economy sector. This is the healthy way to invest your money for multiplying the goodness in the community and to create a good environment for growing up the social economy. And here it's not just about buying something, and the people should understand that the social economy is not selling just on the Christmas and the Easter celebration of the year. We as the social enterprises, we are paying the salary, we are paying the taxes, and we need to sell our products and services day by day. And this is a very important issue. And for example, now in Romania we are trying to develop a big campaign by social. We are actually part of a European campaign in one of the projects that we are implementing with the ASIS. And we are trying to involve two big retailers from Romania to create a special dedicated corner with products and services from social enterprises, and to promote that these products are made in social economy sector, because usually they are more expensive than other products and services, and this is a big challenge to be sustainable. We don't know if we will manage. It's very hard discussion that we are having, because it's very important to understand the whole mechanism of these big companies, how they are working, how they can put these products in their shops and to sell to the countries. But we are having few success examples of youth that are running the social enterprises, and they are having success. And I prepared a very short video, it's 1 minute, if Eva can help me, to see exactly what we did in our programs. And I think this was a good results and success, because we had these 5 types of services in one place, one shop, one-stop shop services. This is important, and to create this kind of services in the local, rural communities, and it works.
On behalf of the entire team at the EU for Youth Social Innovation Impact, a strategic partnership, we extend a warm welcome to all of you. As we reflect on our 24 months of the project, here is a short story on key achievements.
More than 1,000 young people took part in the information campaigns on social entrepreneurship organized in schools from Moldova and Odessa region, Ukraine. We have launched the first interactive map of social enterprises from Romania, Moldova, Ukraine, and have established 4 social innovation labs. Almost 100 representatives of the public authorities took part in these social entrepreneurship workshops organized in the 2 countries. 197 young people from Moldova and Ukraine have attended the social entrepreneurship training. 8 young people have received a grant of €7,500 to establish a social enterprise. More than 1,000 people attended the first edition of the Enterprising for Tomorrow's Social Entrepreneurship and Youth Engagement Conference in 2021. The second edition of the conference is coming this year on May 13th.
This was the short, and the next conference will be on 17 April next year, so book your...
Thank you and congratulations, Angela. So thank you all of you. We are giving the floor to the public now. So I think we are starting with Anita Thyssen, Director of Youth Business International. I think Anita is there. So I don't know if we have the
microphone is over there. No, está la chica.
Ah, thank you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I'll just stand up as well. It's been a long day of sitting. Yeah, thank you very much for all of your contributions. I just wanted to say that in the same way that Antonella is speaking a little bit broader than just Europe, Youth Business International is global as well. But I think a lot of what has been said today really resonates with what we see happening around our network. And it's probably the one area where what we hear at global conversations and what's happening at the grassroots really comes together in terms of that passion for using business to really crack difficult social problems. I guess a question that's kind of been addressed, but I just wanted to put it to the panel, is when we've developed a range of toolkits around social and green entrepreneurship, sustainability, really wanting to provide the practical support for young people to apply their passion with business skills. What we were doing at the beginning was identifying what's the difference between what a young person needs just to set up a business and what do they need to set up a social-oriented business. And I guess there were three things that really came out of that research. The first was around impact, patience, and governance. So with impact was really being able to tell the story of the impact you want to have and whatever tool you use, to be able to demonstrate you're having it. The patience point was around the change you're trying to make is going to take longer, and you're going to have to kind of build the market very often, as well as just do something different in an existing market. And I think governance we've covered off quite a lot with some of the cooperative structures. So I was just interested in your experiences or your insights into what's needed differently for young people to be able to set out and evidence the impact that they're having, and to have that powerful storytelling to create their markets. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Anita. You prefer to answer this question, or we can collect?
You are the moderator.
Yeah, perfect. No, for you. So I give the floor to Marta there, Marta Lozano. We collect three questions. You can answer.
Hello? Yes. Hello, good morning, everyone. It's Marta Lozano from WAZOCOP. I have a question for all the panelists, and especially Mónica Tierno, because when we have to face the challenges of youth, for those people who live in rural areas, we consider that we have our own specific challenges that are a little bit different for those who are living in very populated areas. So my question for all the panelists, and especially Mónica, is what are the main challenges, but at the same way, what are the opportunities for us who are living in these a little bit different places that are less populated, but also important? Thank you.
Thank you. We can answer that.
Me or?
Perfect, Mónica, you can start.
Okay. Well, regarding the first question, in our case, it's a little bit different because we are already established. We are not in this initial, we already work, we already know the market. We are more in the adaptation part of it. But definitely governance is definitely very important, especially in a cooperative like ours, where in total we have like 3,000 farmers, 15 cooperatives. Like, integrate all of that in the decision making, it's definitely challenging. That's all, definitely true. But I guess you also adapt to the model, and you are also aware about your own specifications and how to handle that. So for us, for example, I know I have to spend hours and hours and hours going to the assemblies, to the 15 cooperatives. Every time we want to do a bigger change, I need to go there, and it has to be me. I cannot leave the message to someone else. So it takes a lot of time and effort in pedagogic. It takes longer sometimes, the changes, because it's not only me, my thing, I decide, tomorrow we implement it. It's more like you need to explain why are we doing this, what's going to be the outcome, what are we expecting. So it just takes longer. But I think the moment the message gets integrated, I think it's also stronger. And I think when we have such a big organization, I think we're also very resilient. And when things get difficult, there's a lot of people who are there to push to get things better. So definitely compared to other kind of organizations, I think governance, to get a bigger level, it's something that it's very challenging and sometimes exhausting, but when you manage, it's also very rewarding. And the challenges we cover a little bit, but it's true. I always say, for example, specific in agriculture, there are so many types of agriculture. And I studied in university also international development, and we were very focused in the global south in general. And there, I can see how the focus there is so much on the small scale farming, as a development tool. But here, I feel like in Europe, we are forgetting about that model. I feel like the intensive agriculture is getting more and more space, and we don't feel like we are getting enough support to recognize our as Marta said, that it's not the same, that we have our own difficulties. And, but again, the opportunity is that I feel, yesterday we came together in the car, so we were able to discuss a lot of things, because again, we are not very well connected here, and we have to come with our own car, because we don't even have good transportation to get to other parts of Spain. I feel like the people who decided to survey, I think we are very committed to our territory. So I feel like there's always people who are very much involved and very well motivated to actually create those opportunities, because we feel it very inside. So if we would get more help from the administration, I think we would be able to have more success in many of the projects.
Thank you, Monica. Antonella, you want to answer, Anita? Or?
No, just maybe both. So maybe I start from you. Of course, I'm speaking from a remote location, OECD, but we do work on regional and sub-regional levels, and it is true that this less populated area present some challenges, but seen from another perspective and linking to what she was saying, Monica was saying, there is on one side a sense of pride in most territory, a sense of belonging, and some informal networks that can be tapped on. And on the other side, there are many opportunities, because from what we see, very often social innovation is born out of need. So sometimes you have a challenge, you cannot rely on those things which are needed to then strengthen and empower, but sometimes there is this kind of creativity which stems from the ground and which is important then for policymakers to act upon. After all, when you see all the social economy field of I refer, for instance, to Italy, which is my own country. Many spontaneous initiatives were already there before that the law, for instance, on social cooperative of social enterprises registered them. So I think that it is not to, we do not want to belittle what comes spontaneously from the ground, but we have to structure it. And what is needed from youth, I think it was your question, right?
What is it youth need? What is the need for youth? Not
the other way around. Okay, so, but it's the same after all, because I think that maybe there is an elephant a bit in the room, which is, I mean, we need to create awareness that's clear on social economy, including for youth generation. But I think that the elephant in the room is maybe the fact that we also need to measure social economy. And I feel that the young generation may be more open to embark also on a culture of measurement. So help a young generation also to embark very quickly on this culture, so that they can demonstrate the value of their choice, which has been, I've been working in this field for many years now, as I was mentioning before, more than 25 years. And at the very beginning, there was a resistance, for instance, for social economy to demonstrate how good they are, because of, I can understand this, because maybe of the fear not to receive subsidy, the fear also to be asked to cope with a cahier de charge that social economy organizations themselves had not the opportunity to co-construct. So I think that young generation need maybe to shift a bit also this mentality, to be proud of what they do and to speak to other young people and explain why it is important also for young people to invest more, invest in terms of their own life and choice in this sector.
Thank you, Anna and Angela.
Yeah, I tried very
yes,
best.
thank you.
So for me, it's one of the things that for me is very, and I think it matches both my answers, is that we really need to be aware of what is the difference between social economy and NGOs. And I think for youth, it's also one of the things that is hugely important to understand. Social economy co-ops can be for profit, and this is not something that everyone knows, and sometimes it is very confusing. The difference between cooperatives and cooperation, or international cooperation, and I think it is mainly important to acknowledge that, because for a lot of people in the, not only youth, a lot of people are ambitious, they want to climb the corporate ladder, everything, and that is possible in co-ops as well, and in social economy enterprises. So it's important to, acknowledge that not all the people working in social economy are poor. In fact, San Sebastián is one of the most expensive cities, and if you ask people from Mondragón, most of them have second residences in the center of the city. So they're very rich, and they're cooperators. So I think that it is important to understand that social economy doesn't mean labor poverty. The other part is understanding markets and opportunities, and I think that in that sense, it is important to acknowledge and visibilize the ones that are doing a good job in the rural areas, in the urban areas, and in sectors that are not historically cooperativized. And I think digital and digital transformation is up high, and everyone thinks big startups. We're having some of the best developers in the world that are developing in Silicon Valley are co-op members, worker co-ops, and no one knows, and they don't develop for the co-op sector. So how do we change that? And in the other hand, and last thing, it's culture comes 5 years after doing. So even if you do it today, culture is not going to change in a snap. And we need to acknowledge that it's 5 years behind. So I think everything that we're doing today will impact in 5 years. And it is one of my fears as youth president is what's coming next? Who is the next youth people? Who are the next? Because honestly, we're not that young. I mean, the youngest people are sitting in the row and they're having like the boringest time of their life right now, and they're just happy to come in the stage. So I think we need to understand how do we put one more seat at the table, rather than feel that bringing in youth is a threat. We need to understand, like, okay, when we put one more chair in the table, are we either able to let our seat for someone else, or just put one more and let it not be in the corner of the table, let it put it in the front of the table, not only for giving power, but also supporting, because the more we share when we are together and more multi-generational understanding we can create, the less they will need to repeat the same thing we've learned throughout the place. So I think that it is very important. And with that, shut up and ready.
Very short. I will start with the second question. And I will give you an example, and you will have the answer to your question. In Romania, the social support for a people that is not working, it's around €50 per month. If the government, the states, and the community in general will support the social enterprises, these social enterprises can hire people, especially from vulnerable groups, in a social enterprise, and the government can receive around €230 the taxes per salary. So the question is, how we can use this, especially work integration social enterprises, to create more jobs, but also to create incomes to the states. And we have to turn this kind of mirror and to look to these vulnerable groups in another manner. For example, in Romania, we are having 35% of the people are in vulnerable situation. But we approved this year to import 100,000 people from Asia and other countries because we don't have enough people to work on the labor market. So we can use the social economy. And related to the first question, I think to measure this impact that we can create in hiring people with vulnerable groups and take them from the social services part and integrate in the labor market, it can be a measurable impact of what we are doing in social economy and what kind of benefits can have the person but also the community doing this.
Thank you very much. I'm going to switch to Spanish and to use one of the sentences of Ana. Las personas más jóvenes que...
So the youngest people who are sitting here in this room are our colleagues here from the Ikastola Arizmendi. I would encourage you to come up here. We have the director of the Ikastola, the head mistress, And we have 3 students from the Castola, Irantxu, Javer, and Elena, and one of the teachers, Miriam Talavera, from the Castola. And should we step down?
Yes.
We're a cooperative, and the first question, of course, is why we're here and what our role is as a school. My passion is to help my students in their personal development. We work as a team through role-playing. We help people in the valley. Social economy is preserving a language, our culture, and our identity as members of a cooperative. My work is to inspire, connect, and transcend. We work in cooperative teams. Cooperatives help people and watch over them. The values of a cooperative school provide education which goes beyond the classroom. It's equality-based education. We go out in the streets, we look after nature. Social economy is inclusive and sustainable. With our projects, we promote civil responsibility. Social economy is education. We learn in a way which makes everything more amusing, and we learn more, and we preserve traditions. Social economy is inclusive and sustainable. People, planet, action. We are part of change. We are social economy. Recovery, Transformation and Resilience Plan funded by Next Generation EU funds.
Aquí. Hola. Bueno.
Hello. Egunon. Good morning. Thank you for inviting us. We are from Arizmendi, Castola, and here we have Elene, Javar, Irantxu, Miriam, and I am Mireia. I think you will have seen a couple of us in that video. And we've been asked to come here to share a little bit about what we do and how we do it, and especially why we do it. We are Arizmendi Castola. Arizmendi Castola is an Icastola, a school in the Lenitz Valley. The Lenitz Valley is the area of Mondragon, which you might be a bit more familiar with. We have 3,200 students, 177 teachers, and we are a cooperative. We're a comprehensive cooperative, so we have 3 types of members. The families are members of the cooperative, the teachers are members of the cooperative, and the third group of members are the sponsoring members, and they can be individual people who want to continue to cooperate with us, or they can be businesses like Grupo Mondragon, Fagor, the University of Mondragon, etc. And so we've been told to share with you our project and our model, because when we started thinking about social economy and what is social economy, and we started to look into it, and we realized that after reading the definition, everything that we were doing was social economy. Since we are a cooperative, it is also part of our DNA, of course, but our goal is much more than just the curricular content and the skills. As Angela said, we have to prepare future generations with personal skills, interpersonal skills. And what we believe, and they are these future generations, of course they're not 5 anymore, they're 12, 13. But the way we work with them is we give them real context so that they can then work in teams as a cooperative, so that they can be entrepreneurs and bring about change, because that's what they need to learn. And if they need to be disruptive and to be entrepreneurs, they're going to need internal resilience, and to acquire that, education has a very important role there. Thank you, Mireia. And of course, we need to ask ourselves, what's the difference between our school and other schools? In Arizmendi, we have an innovative learning model which prepares students for the different challenges that they might experience as grown-ups in the future. And that's why we say that our educational model is different. And so, for example, a third of the time, every week, our students work in teams. They do teamwork on projects, and then there's a final outcome which must be a contribution to the community. And that way everyone benefits. So we believe that we are helping society and our students learn in doing so. And now we're going to introduce the center of it all, as Mireia said. Yabar, Irantzu and Elene are students from our school, and they're here to present 3 of the many projects that we work on. Go ahead, Irantzu.
Explicar se llama Amazon.
This is called Amazon, which comes from Amazon, the company. And the thing is that current consumption models are not at all sustainable. And so we need to analyze and reflect on that. And so the guiding question is, how can we make our citizens' consumption more fair, local, and cooperative based? And to answer this question, we had 3 goals. The first was to do a team project with the methodology of cooperative learning. Second, to understand how cooperatives work as a way to respond to social needs. And third, to analyze consumption styles of the citizens of the valley so that we can then raise their awareness on the impact. We involve local producers like Ausolan, Bellalde, Bareneche, etc. Great, Irantzu, thank you. And so what did you learn from this project? Well, I learned about different types of consumption. There's fair consumption and capitalist consumption. I've also learned what cooperatives are all about and why they were established. And you mentioned cooperatives. Do you think that that's a good thing, a bad thing? What's your opinion? Well, I think they're good because they value all people equally. For example, generally the boss earns most of the money, but in a cooperative that's not the case. The money is split equally amongst the members. Okay, and what do you think about teamwork? Do you enjoy it or not? Does it have pros and cons? I enjoy working in a team because, for example, to develop a product, we are all different people and we have different skills and ideas, and so the final product will be a lot more interesting if we take in everybody's input. Great, go ahead, Yabar. The second project we've brought you is called Eco Town, and it's about thinking that in this fast-changing world we need to stop and think, and creativity and research are going to be crucial for change. And so the question for this project was, how can we help university students or companies around us to create products so that our country can be more sustainable? And to do that, we went through a process which was to invent and create to respond to a problem we had in our town with sustainability. To do that, we created a product, and in this project we partnered with various actors, including universities, local enterprises, local councils, and individuals. Great, thank you. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, which I have here, if I can find them. You said that there were problems. How did you identify those problems? Well, to identify those problems, first we learned what sustainability was, and we learned about the Sustainable Development Goals. And to do that, we went out in the streets and asked several of our neighbors about any issues in our town, and that's how we found out what they were. And this product that you created, whom did you present it to? Well, the goal was to present it to several experts in each topic In our case, we went to the local council and presented it to their experts. And so what was your invention or product? Do you think that it's really going to be real at some point? What we came up with was a vertical garden with automated irrigation, collecting rainfall and then watering the plants automatically. And for the future, I doubt that they're actually going to spend the money to build it. Okay, thank you, Javar. Okay, Elene, go ahead. The project I'm going to present is called Water Cocoa, and this is about how cocoa is sourced. We learned about its origins and also about how each of us consume it. In order to carry out this project, we had a question to answer, which is, how can we explain the impacts which our consumption habits have on the life of farmers using a board game? And to answer this question, we set different goals. First, we thought about consumption habits in our homes, analyzing different retail models and investigating the source of typical foods in our homes. We then looked at how different products were sourced and their impacts on the farmers using a board game. During this project, we worked with different actors, including Mundukide and Mouse. Great, Elene. And what did you actually learn from this project? Well, what I learned was that the cocoa we tend to drink in our homes does not have the source I thought. It's not fair trade. A lot of people work really hard and others earn most of the profit. There's too many intermediaries, and generally the money is basically collected by those intermediaries and not by the farmers. And do you think that this problem could be fixed? Well, yes. In our town, there's a shop where all the food has a label that says fair trade. And so if you buy those foods with that label, you know there's been no exploitation of the farmers. So if you buy those products that are fair trade labeled, we can make sure there's less inequality and less exploitation. Great, thank you. Okay, well, I think with these three examples of the sort of projects that we do, you get some idea of our process. And they've told you they work through teams and through cooperative learning. But of course, that has to be taught as well. If you put them together, it doesn't automatically mean teamwork. And so it's one of the skills that they learn. Elena told you that one of the projects involved creating a board game that could also be played with as a team. And somebody has actually designed it now. Mundukide, together with the Mondragon group and the Ministry of Industry and the Social Economy, or Employment and Social Economy, have created this game, which is a way to change the rules of the game, because the winner is the one that cooperates the most. And we've said that we have to teach our kids to cooperate and to do teamwork from a very early age, and how to be entrepreneurs from a very early age, and how to be resilient. And we believe that that's what we have to teach them. We're a school, and we think that they will be agents for change in just a few years. And so it's our responsibility to prepare them for that. These young people, well, these kids, they're 12, 13 still. And so we've been using this system from primary school level, even from the preschool level. And to finish, I would like to show you just a small section of the Cooperative Symphony. It's a part which talks about the future, and it says, the world has a bunch of questions for us, and our answers are seeds for the future. And that's what we have to do. In our school, we have to plant those seeds for the future. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mireia. don't go away. I know that everyone's dying to go off for lunch, but I just want to say that in this 2-day conference, a 12-year-old has mentioned one of the elephants in the room, which is capitalism. Fair consumption as opposed to capitalist consumption. And that's what we're doing here. We're not greenwashing companies. We're building, as the Secretary of State said this morning, business democracy. Business democracy with social values, with gender diversity, with environmental values. And thank you for mentioning that elephant in the room. We are building a fair world, because otherwise we wouldn't really be making a difference with respect to other business models. So congratulations to the Icastola for planting these seeds of hope. And also, just that we're working in rural areas, we're working in urban areas. We are working with young people in every sector, in the agro-food sector, in industry, in IT, with all generations, from a local perspective, but also from a global perspective. So there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of future, and as Anna said, the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.
Lunchtime.